Race 7 of BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We're above the Olympic city of Igls, nestling in the Austrian Tyrol. Just outside the village of Igls is the sliding centre for both the 64 and 72 Winter Olympic Games. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, as we get ready for the penultimate World Cup of the women's bobsleigh season. And John, this track is a difficult one to find perfection on.
Well, you have to be perfect, including at the first 50 meters. It's the shortest track on tour, 1,220 meters, and it's flat. And, you know, Myers and Evans, whoever Alana Myers pushes with, she's got a track record, it seems like. But, you know, you have to be absolutely perfect in here. There's just no mistakes allowed. Any type of a mistake up here where the track speeds are slow will just take away from any good time at the bottom. Curve 3, 4, 5. And again, this is about 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. A lot of problems here in the men's World Cup earlier this morning. And then take on here into the Kreisel curve. Set yourself up like every track. There's a slingshot effect onto the bottom. Curve 8. We saw a lot of issues there in the pivotal part of the track right here. Curve 9. You got to exit here to 10 with some great lines. High into 10. Now a three-corner combination, the labyrinth. Every track's got to have one, and speed 75 miles an hour. It's quick, tight, and finish. You go uphill, so you still can't make a mistake at the finish line. And then there's a real challenge stopping the sleds, not only for the skeleton athletes, we saw that yesterday, but also for the bobsledders.
Most successful woman in the last decade on the track owns the finish record. Anja Schneider-Heinze won the World Championships here last year with Annika Dracek behind her. She's won 4 other medals as a driver on this track, including another win. And she won back 11 seasons ago, breaking Sandra Kyriasis. Kaylee Humphries has never won on this track, and that's something that probably will continue after today. Mariama Yamanka there may be our hot favourite, especially with the world champion Annika Dracek behind her. Nadezhda Sergeva. Alana Myers-Taylor, well, she's won here 2 years ago, the last World Cup race, so she's got a great shot as well. And as the girls make their final preparations, the last of the limbering up, they will know that the start here is going to be a key factor. There can't be too many tracks where Kaylee Humphries hasn't won.
Jamie Grubel-Poser just off the gold medal spot last week.
Yep.
Second place.
Jamie won here 2 seasons ago.
Well,
so 3 different winners in the last 3 years, 4 in the last 4 years, because 4 years ago, Sandra Kyriasis took one of her probably last ever wins. Here's our entry list. We have a good, strong field of 22 sleds from a dozen different nations, but it's a fairly warm day. We've already had a 32 strong men's field, so 52 sleds have gone down already in moderate to warm conditions. The track may not be yielding an awful lot of pace today, but we will have to wait and see. The temperature has certainly dropped since the men were on the track. First of 22 sleds, race 7 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Maria Oshigiri with Arisa Kimishima behind her. Newcomers to the World Cup, Oshigiri just 22 years old. Best World Cup race of her limited career, 10th place in Koenigsegg, Bavaria a week ago. She's raced here precisely 1 time, Europa Cup, January 16.
pretty impressive 10th place in the Koenigsegg last weekend. Driving a Swiss sled. Start, well, the speed on the left, 47.5. Keep track of that. That's a pretty good measuring device that we use to compare the start time with the velocity. It's how you get in the sled. And now, it's just, you have to be a video game up here. You can't touch anything, because we saw the men's race, 12, 15, 1,800 leads up here. They can throw them away, and they exit right here into curve 8, 9, and on the bottom. A lot of lead changes here in the men's race.
And that's a factor of the shortness of the track as well, that the late race is likely to be very tight. Hundredths of a second make a big difference.
Late there, you know, these Japanese, they had 3 teams. One of their teams, Miyama, went home with a knee injury, so she's done for the season. 119.7 speed. That transfers into 74.4 miles an hour.
Most dangerous part of the track is this braking corner.
Look at the...
They're
They're even getting acclimated to television. These girls are smiling, laughing, having more fun than anybody. You know, they're serious about it, but boy, are they enjoying themselves. Exit of Kreisel, and then into 8. And that's not the way you want to nosedive into there. And then here's the exit of 9. This, a little bouncing, and again, it is a little colder than it was a couple hours ago for the men's race.
Feels it in the air, doesn't it? And that'll help the ice. Stephanie Schneider with Lise Marie Buchwitz, the 26-year-old German, had a bronze medal 3 years ago in the World Cup as a brakewoman for Anja Schneider.
Ran a long way.
She got away with that. The sled tracked straight out of the spurs, and that's not always the case.
And ran a long ways, had a much better start time, but only a 0.2 of a kilometer. 1200's better, but only 0.2 of a kilometer better velocity. I think she ran too far.
Schneider's only driven on this track once. That was the Europa Cup race in January 16. She was 5th here last World Cup 2 years ago, braking for Kathleen Martini.
Germans have a lot of hope for this young athlete.
Huge skid.
Another skid. She's going to be late here too. Watch out. Why does she get through there like that?
She hauled it off 9.
Boy, we haven't seen a line like that in any one of the 54 men's sleds we saw. 52 men's sleds.
This is only her 2nd World Cup. She's completed 1. She started in Whistler, crashed in training, broke her collarbone, crashed again when she came back, and has only made 1 World Cup start. Dratek on the right there with a little...
We'll see her in a little bit. But Christina Schenkel, I think, was in there. She's not competing. She's not in the field today.
Schenkel was withdrawn during training. She didn't do the final day of training. She's not racing, so I guess she's injured.
Well, I forgot to look at the skid here. I mean, that's 2 for 2. Two sleds down, 2 problems in the exit to 8. And then how does she get out of 9 here like this? Watch, climbs and then flat.
She took a hit on the inner wall out of 8, which put her into all sorts of trouble in 9.
I haven't seen a line like that in a long time.
Stephanie Schneider nevertheless has the lead, and looks like she's gouged her hands. For Switzerland, Sabine Hafner, how long has she been away? Her last World Cup race here was in 2011. She was 5th then, she was 5th the previous season.
I would call her quite a student of the game.
19-year-old Yasmin Neff makes her debut on the break. She's a big, tall chef.
In and down start, 3rd best start, 2700s off, so 3 times that is 8100s down. They should be behind the German sled.
Her brakewoman Yasmin has just done 2 races before in her entire life, both in the Europa Cup in 2016.
So 2700s to 4800s, probably to 6500s, especially after that. Only 51. Now remember, the German sled, Schneider, wasn't that good down the track. Only 51, so she's stopped the bleeding, and now she's trying to chase down the Japanese sled, which, with her experience,
which is also a Swiss Citius.
Yep, down to 45. Here she comes, probably have the best speed into the finish, as you expect. She's very experienced pilot. Second best speed, 4100.
600s faster than the Japanese.
But they were also 1500 slower than the Japanese at the start. So she's going to be plagued with poor starts, and there's not a track on the planet where the start has more of an emphasis than this one. And mistakes like this when you have a deficient start, oof. It's like throwing out a parachute. Look at Christoph Long and the coach on the left. Look, come on.
No Jarvol there,
no
I'm afraid.
Jarvol there.
Wondering why we saw Annika Dratsek in the leader's box at the start, in the coach's box at the start. She is on our entry list for Mariama Yamanka. You'd think she'd be getting ready for action. 4th of our sleds, 27-year-old Canadian Christine de Bruyne, 16th here in the World Championships, her only ever time on this track in a race. And 25-year-old rookie to the team, Catherine Medeiros. Medeiros, the brakewoman, a downhill ski racer and strongman competitor.
Boy, she's in quickly. 3rd best start, 67. So they're 47.2. That's 3rd best of the 4. And now these have absolutely perfect lines. That was a skid. Christina's husband, Igls, raced this morning for the Netherlands.
Big field, 32 sleds. He didn't make the cut, but he wasn't alone in that. Bronze medalist in the World Championships last year, Bert Hefty didn't make the cut either.
She's driving some good lines. Oh, that tap there. As soon as I said good lines, she made a mistake. Look at that mistake. Caused her to really have to yarn hard in the second of the labyrinths. You could see it. 2800s back. That's pretty good, considering she was 1600s down to Schneider at the start and only 27 at the bottom. Best driving for Christine De Bruyn there.
Good looking run. This is only her second ever race on this track. Never raced at the junior level.
Watch the drift here. See the sled, the back end of the sled? A little bit of a drift, and then down here, and this is another little bit of a minor skid. And here, look at the way she has to really steer hard there. And she was late coming into that. She tapped before the first labyrinth, caused her to make that hard adjustment in the second labyrinth.
For Romania, 22-year-old driver Andrea Grecu. Last time she was here, she was on the brakes in the World Championship last year. She's got 27-year-old Erika Halle behind her. This is Andrea's 4th World Cup start as a driver. She has raced here once only in Europa Cup as well.
Well, this Romanian team is starting to compete a little bit better than the other Romanian team. Uh-oh, push bar.
They had much quicker starts in training than their teammates, 5:66.
And especially here, the start, we saw Kazanov from Russia with a 17th best start in the first heat and have a third great downtime, but in the second run he fell. Because without a start, you got to hit home runs every time you come down the track.
Andrea started driving last season, didn't do World Cup races. She did a few minor races and some training days, but she came to the World Championships as a brake woman for Maria Constantine.
Oh, she taps. She's going to have a little late, going to have to hard steer there.
Yep. Well, she's in fourth place, 4,200 away.
Only 100th
behind Sabine Hafner. Wow. Andrea Grecu hadn't even started as a brake woman when Sabine Hafner last raced here in the World Cup.
But she beat Sabine Hafner by 1200s at the start, too. So, but the Romanians, I don't know what type of equipment this is. This could be
an ex-German FES sled, yeah.
It's
the one they bought last season.
Better look at equipment than the guys are driving. Look at this, get in, get down. She's a tall girl. She's got to narrow herself into that seating position. Look at the brakeman's arms come up. Brakeman's got very good technique there. She's in way before the driver. Yeah. Maybe the reason why that push bar didn't come down right away.
Driver looks like her backside landed on the top of the seat rather than slipping into it. Top 5 down of our 22 field first heat, race 7 of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Next up, Elfie Willemsen of the Netherlands with 24-year-old Sophie Verkruijsen behind her. Elfie, 9th in the World Championships here last year. 9th in 2015 World Cup, her best result here as well.
Doesn't like the track. I saw her on the loading dock before she went up, and I said something, and she says, "This is just not my track." She gives up so much time at the start. She's got the 5th best start of 6 sleds, and she's 2400s behind Schneider, which is now 43. And probably will get out to 50, and then she'll start cutting into it on the bottom.
So little ice, only 1,200 meters, barely over a kilometer. When you start slower, there's just no time to drive and finesse your way back up the order.
Well, she stopped the bleeding now, and let's see if she can get it down into the 20s.
She's already out of turn 9 of 14. She's more than halfway down before she arrests the lack of speed.
52, it's not going to be enough.
No, she's going to be 6 of our 6
not
sleds.
Even cutting in. Wow, this is surprising. Wow, she's 6 of 6 sleds. She's, wow, 400s behind the Japanese and behind the Romanian. I'm very surprised at this. One thing is to go in not knowing, knowing you don't like the track, but everybody's sliding on it today.
I wonder whether she hasn't quite got the right runners for the weather. It is pretty warm. Talking to a couple of the men after the men's race, and they were saying that in training it had been down to -5 or 6. Race day -2. Very different ice conditions.
Well, here comes the first of our medal threats.
Yeah, World Cup points leader Kaylee Humphries, 2 wins so far this season. Double Olympic, double world champion. Silver here in the Worlds last season. And the girl who won it, Anja Schneider-Heinze, has retired and is no longer in the field.
So this is going to be the best start, probably maybe in 40s.
Kaylee's only ever had 3 podium finishes in
49.
her career here, and none on the top step.
48-1, first team into the 48s with the start velocity. And Alyssa Loholtz does give her better start velocity in all the tracks. That's what we're hearing in Scuttlebutt. But she's only 100th ahead. I'm very surprised at that. And Martin, you made the point, she's never won here. That surprised me. So you sure about that?
Yep. Unless she was winning before 2006.
Now, I was just surprised Elfie Williamson came down, and surprised at her time. And only 400ths ahead here by Kaylee. Thought she'd be up by 2/10 by now.
Interesting, talking to Justin Cripps after the men's race, to say they've changed the way they're treating the runners or examining the runners this weekend. He said that gave us a better shot.
20 Okay.
53.19, Graham Richardson happy that Kaylee Humphries has the lead at the moment, but Melissa hauling on the brakes hard, lifts the rear runners up. The brakes come down under the sled, dig into the ice, and then it's on the runners and the brakes, and that's...
But when that happens, then there's no steering in the front.
Well,
so then that's, you know, where she hit there's a little bit of an opening, so...
Yeah, what you don't want is to roll it.
Yeah. Exit of curve 9, pivotal part of the track. Kaylee, or excuse me, this is exit of Kreisel into 8. Boy, that's a nice line. She snuck down the right side. This is the exit of 9. This is where she made her mistake.
Yep. Double tap. You can see how soft the ice is. Bits flying off the wall. And when the brakes come on, look at that. The back goes up, and then you're on a very wobbly 3-pronged stool. Kaylee Humphries, the race leader for Canada. 7 sleds down, 8th of our contenders, Nadezhda Sergeyeva from Russia, the 29-year-old former heptathlete, former brakewoman for her coach Victoria Tokovaya.
Last 3 races, 5th, 6th, and 4th.
Yeah, 4th in Winterberg, her career best.
I would say this is probably the most improved athlete into the top of the mix.
Yeah.
She has really come on. The other names we're familiar with being up here, but she keeps knocking closer and closer to a medal. Her start times, 3rd best start. She's getting better starts.
Penny's really dropped, hasn't it? She's really driving, as opposed to avoiding stuff on the way down.
Yeah. 1300s down. Ooh, really high in that part of the Kreisel. See what that does to her.
Little tap out of 7.
20
out of 8 nicely into 9. Ooh. Little tap there as well, and a skid into 10.
Oh, she hit the lip. She got up there on the roof at 10.
Wow. I thought that was Don Parsons' only territory.
And she's lost all sorts of time down here. She's going to be fighting for a top 6 here.
3rd place, 4th place at the line.
58.
Just a 10th behind Christine de Bruyne.
Wow.
So again, that puts de Bruyne's run into
perspective.
A good perspective.
Well, Chris, she's been getting better.
Yeah.
That was a good drive. She had the 6th best start time, 3rd. Sariega, I would not give her I'd give her a C. Look at this, taps. Oh, this, you could have done a worse spot to tap a wall on the entry to a corner than there. And then here, watch the sled, total skidding into 10. Now watch her climb and hits the lip, the roof.
Yeah.
Boom, we haven't seen anybody, and plus it's frosty up there. It's nasty up there. You don't want to do that.
Well, she got it down safely, but few dodged a bullet with that one. Teammate Alexandra Rodionova, the 33-year-old ex-loser, with Anastasia Kochetsova, 26 years old Anastasia, her first season on ice.
4 7ths, a 6th, and a 10th in 6 races.
And she was 10th in the Worlds here last year, her first World Championships.
Now she's was Russia 1. Now she's Russia 2 with Sariega, so she wants to come in here and, you know, become the #1 Russian sled as they enter the World Championships.
Nice neat load.
Start time 6th best.
4th time 6 speed, so they didn't get as much momentum as they needed into the sled.
Former luge athlete, probably been down this track 300-400 times on a luge sled. It's slow, it's meticulous, and it doesn't allow for mistakes like that.
Tail wagging the dog, never a good thing, out of the Kreisel.
2600's back, better than her teammate, and 4th spot.
Gets into 10 without the bump, doesn't get up in the woodwork either. Up to third place. This is perhaps her best drive of the season for Alexandra Rodionova.
She could get it up to second with good time here. Third, 35.
Yeah. Best results of her World Cup career have been a slew of 7th places this season and 6th in the opener in Whistler. Field is definitely deeper in numbers here than it was in Whistler, so that's a good run from Rodionova.
Plus the track, as we saw this morning, after about 10 sleds, it really starts to fall off, the quality of the ice. Look at this mistake here. What would she have been at the bottom without that mistake? Here, you know, look at that little jump right there.
That's one of the expansion joints that's starting to sink in.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit in the 4-man, or in the 2-man this morning.
No wonder she's got a smile on her face. Alexandra Rodionova lies third. Next up for Austria, Christina Hengster. Benny Meyer took a bronze medal in the men's race earlier. Hengster 6th in the World Championships, bronze team medal. She took a bronze in the World Cup here 2011.
Last year's World Championships, all the hopes on her, and she crashed in the first heat down the labyrinths. Shocked everybody, the city, finished intact, and so she could go back up for the second, third, and fourth heat. I think finished 6th, yep. Right? So, but just devastating that she made a mistake on her home track like that. She probably had a chance to medal last year.
And it was down at the beginning of the labyrinth, wasn't it? Was it 12? Yeah, she 12, just got it zigged when she should have.
Well, she was trying for that Austrian shortcut. Yeah. It wasn't short that day.
Missed the wormhole, and over she went. Out of 9, little squirrely sideways into 10.
These aren't good lines for her.
Hang on to this, Christina. There we go.
Good speed. There's a nice hanging on the second part of the labyrinth. 19 speed's pretty good. 4th. But she's only 300ths from the Russians.
Yeah, that's very close.
That mistake on the exit of 9 sets her to 4th.
Bronze medal, 300ths in front of her.
Start time, so she's 10th behind Schneider, 1200ths behind Humphreys. Start wasn't that bad for her.
No, and the time lost was driving errors, definitely.
Driving errors. Exit of 9. Watch the sled flatten out here.
Comes back up into the wall.
And then here's the second part of that picture. It's hard hit too. Bang, bang, and still a skid. Yeah. That was worth.
That cost her 10th or 2, yeah.
Somebody's birthday.
Well, it ain't mine. I've had enough of those. 10 down, 12 to come. Christina Hengster just out of the medals in 3rd for Austria, in 4th for Austria. So Christina Hengster's birthday, we gather. Jamie Grubel posed with the USA, Olympic bronze medalist with Asia Evans behind her, a 28-year-old Brake woman from Chicago. 5th in the world, Jamie, but she won here in World Cup racing in 2014.
Asia Evans, pretty powerful athlete back here. In, down, boy, she gets in so quick, and she's one of the bigger athletes in the field, and she buries herself back there in the perfect aerodynamic profile. They have the best start time, but the second best speed. So the Canadians win the velocity contest.
4 different winners in the last 4 races here, John. Katie Humphreys not among them, but Jamie Grubel-Poser was.
That was a pretty good sign. She went with second best velocity, and she still was even. Now she's got green numbers.
100th up into the Kreisel.
Kaylee wasn't perfect out of 9.
Jamie wasn't perfect out of the Kreisel, hung it up on the exit.
Those are good lines there, but she's got red numbers.
Only by 100th, she could dip back in front.
There it is. Dead heat, too close to call.
Could easily be a dead heat.
Tie.
That's this track.
Might be our first tie of the day.
100th in it,
no.
100th in it.
Brian, boy, the American team's been living on hundreds.
Yeah,
Holcomb was living by him.
Plus or minus. Well, don't forget, Katie Humphreys lost in St. Moritz by 100th of a second.
Yep.
100th of a second to Alana Myers-Taylor, and Jamie Grubel 100th behind Kaylee here.
But Kaylee had 0.7 of a kilometer better speed than Jamie Grubel. Now look how quickly Grubel's in, and now Asia Evans in right behind her. Arms, so she always has that right arm come in. Now they come in together.
Asia Evans, we kind of still think is one of the new girls in the team. She's been around since 2012. Yeah, this is her 6th season, so 5th season. Lana Myers-Taylor, Winner of this race 2 years ago, bronze medalist in the Worlds last season.
Lolo Jones on the back. Well,
Lana Myers-Taylor, 3 straight wins in the last 3 races.
let's see what this velocity here. Look at that,
Okay,
43.
there you go.
But the second best velocity at 48. So they're going to be interested in that.
Ooh, little skid early on, and that's a really
600
painful mistake.
It's 11, but that's probably going to start to go down here.
Alana is on such a tear at the moment.
Whoa, 14. There's nothing going down there.
Samoritz, Koenigsegg. This would be for 4 on the bounce.
Other than the crash at the first event in Whistler, she's been second or first in every event.
Yep.
She'd be the World Cup leader by far and away, except for that crash. And she's 1800s up. This is quick.
She's building her lead all the way down the track. Alana Myers-Taylor will have the lead at the end of the run.
53.01. Well, that's a lot. Lolo breaks on. She gets it up there before the trouble, those rubber mats.
That's only 700ths off the track record set in the World Championships last year. Yes.
Really? Well, we've got a team coming up that one more team could challenge him. Here's a mistake up there. What would she be? She might be on that track record without that skid out of 1. That was, and watch the brakes. Lolo's still buried there. She's just starting to put the brakes on now. Mike Kahn running around with the number 1. Good start, good finish.
With the lead, yes. Good run from her. What about Alicia Rissling? Very inexperienced on this track. This is only her World Cup start number 6 of her career. She was 13th in the World Championships last year, her only ever drive on this track.
Well, her brakeman, Thibault, I didn't like the way she did not bend into the sled and explode.
Wrist didn't get in quickly there. Genevieve Thibault from Quebec City, track and field and rugby 7s for Canada. She's in her 3rd national sport making the Canadian team.
Rissling showing some good lines. She's showed some pretty good progress this season. Flops there, though.
Best result, 4th place on home ice in Whistler, 5th in Lake Placid. She was 9th last week in Koenigsegg, where we go for the World Championships in a couple of weeks.
Well, the deficient start time of 9, she's driven it up to 8th. Let's see if she can be clean.
Ooh!
It's not clean.
Falls off 9.
High, but that high line, we saw a lot of them this morning in the men's program.
Don't forget last year's World Championships, her only time on this track in competition.
She did pretty good.
7th on the line.
That's a pretty good run down the track.
This is turning into a good day for Canadian bobsledding, isn't it?
Well, it's a good day for
The men having
skeleton yesterday. They had 3 sleds in the top 6.
Well, maybe it's a little similar to Calgary. Maybe there's some of that going on.
This is the 9 exit. You saw the sled come up high in the exit and flops down on their, and then she comes over and bang, bang, but doesn't try to make it a worse mistake, hits and comes straight.
Yeah, that late exit from 9 just throws you across into the other wall. Alicia Rissling, though, lies in 7th out of 13 sleds. Next up, Mariama Yamanka, Germany's hope. That's why we saw Annie Dratek. Late change to Franziska Bertels now.
We didn't have any notice of that.
Bertels didn't go in training. I was talking to her on Thursday. I thought she wasn't racing. She thought she wasn't racing.
And Drazik was the competitor. We don't... Well, without a start time, 7th best start time, Yamanka, I think, is pretty average.
Annie Dratek, the world champion last year with Anja Schneider-Heinze. Mariama Yamanka's only ever World Cup here was in 2011-2012 when she was a brake woman. So she's not driven here other than last year's Worlds.
I'll have to get the inside scoop. What happened to her? It was still, no change of bibs or brakeman. But you picked it up when you saw her in the leaders or the coach's box watching the earlier German sled.
Franziska Bertels, she's got form on this track. Won here 4 seasons ago, pushing for Sandra Kyriasis.
Who's here on the track?
Who is here on the track, yeah.
4600th, 5th. Germans now 4th and 5th. Schneider beat Yamanka, but Schneider had 1100ths better start and only beat her by 8 at the bottom. But
Franziska Bertels and Mariama Yamanka in 5th place.
Well, when she's getting the 2nd, 3rd best start times that she gets from Annika Drazik, she's a different finish time, but these are good lines.
Yep.
But you know, when you got the 7th best start, they're happy.
Yes. One more down to go. Misha McNeil from Great Britain, 23 years old, our reigning junior world champion, won the title last week in Winterberg. She's also the silver medalist from the Youth Olympic Games 2012 with an Athens Olympic sprinter behind her, Montel Douglas from Lewisham in London. And she gets in so nicely.
Starts, 10th. Ooh, let's see velocity, 12th velocity. Surprised at that. I was watching their starts in practice. They were better than that.
Montel Douglas, very new to the sport. When did she come in to Winterberg?
Yeah, she came in for a headshot, and I asked her how long she'd been in the sport. She told me she'd never been down.
Not yet, is the answer.
Really?
Oh, big skid from McNeil.
So this is going to be a lot for her to overcome here in the bottom.
Won the Junior Worlds last weekend with Mika Moore on the brakes. Montel Douglas was there with them as well. Misha, this is a very loose run. Making just about every mistake it's possible to make down here. She'll be livid with herself after this. Across the line in 10th. And you heard her shout there, brakes the moment you come across the line. You've got to get them on before you get into the finish bend. So Monty gets on the brakes. Misha will be disappointed with that. If there's a mistake available to make that she didn't make, I'm not quite sure what it is.
Well, exit of 9. Now watch the skid. Now she's going to tap here and get forced down to the middle of the curve, and then she's still late down here 3 curves later. Watch the back end. Airborne.
Yeah.
When the sled goes airborne like that, all the pressure goes on the front nose, and that's too much friction.
Avan Junheit of Belgium with Sarah Ertz behind her.
Ertz is probably the tallest female in the race.
And is getting on towards the opposite end of the scale. There's the thing about small Belgians. That's Kim Meilmans, their skeleton athlete, her nickname, Little Belgian.
Well, on after that great 4th place finish at the opener in Whistler. Since then, hasn't got anywhere near that. And of course, with the start, it's tough to compete on this track. So her teammate, Elfie Williamson, almost looked like she mailed the result in today because she just does not like the track. It's too short for her. Her deficient start time, she needs 1,500 meters to have a chance. See what her teammate can do. Ooh, big skid. Another skid. Going to be late here. Yep.
Well, they swapped the teams around. Last week, Anne had Sophie Verkrijzen behind her, and Sophie Ertz was with Alfie Willemsen. This week, they're swapping them around, trying to find a balance here so they get as good a start from both sleds as they can. And across the line, 16th.
11th best. Very surprised at that. Very surprised. Of course, the mistakes, the exit of Kreisel, I'm sure they'll show us. She's going to be, don't know what she said, but I think she looks angry.
I don't think we need to translate that, probably.
There it is. Look at this kid.
Yeah.
This is a good driver, too. I mean, that's the worst lines into curve 8 of the field so far.
You know, there are days when it gets away from you, and this is one of them, isn't it?
Then she made the mistake 9, and then she made 8 to 9, and then here, and watch the sled flop. And well, she got away with that. But boy.
It was late everywhere else, wasn't it? One of those horror story runs that you wish you'd got in training and not in the race. Third of our US sleds coming up. Alana Myers-Taylor leads for the USA. Jamie Grubel-Poser in 3rd. What about Brittany Reinbold? Again, very limited experience on this track. She's got Lauren Gibbs behind her. Good, strong starter.
Boy, she gets buried in there quickly. 5th best start. See the velocity. 5th best velocity.
Brittany, a former brakewoman herself, before she turned to driving, also a flying instructor.
$2,200's back. That's going to grow out to 30. And she's going to hope to stop any more bleeding. And 25, that's pretty good.
When you're trying to be millimeter perfect, knowledge of this track is so important.
This is pretty good.
Still in the top 5, but nearly rolls it out of 9.
Did I say pretty good?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. She got away with that.
8 to 9. That transfers from 8 to 9.
Don't hang it out in the labyrinth at the bottom. Still 8th place, but what could have been? That could well have been a top 5 run. Brakes, brakes, brakes.
Wow. Let's see what she says here. Let's see what she says.
Good job.
Really? Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, Gibbs. 5:54. Good start from Lauren Gibbs and Brittany Reinbold.
Well,
look at this.
Let's just slide. It goes down.
Came down
You got to go
early.
back up and hello.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's not the profile you want to see. It's not the way you want to be looking at the next curve. Look at that. Look at the way that back runner cut into the ice. I bet you there's a big groove there.
Oh, baby. Don't get much closer to barrel rolling off 9 than that. Maria Constantin of Romania with Olivia Vilt behind her. Vilt, new recruit to the Romanian program this season. Hungarian-born sprint athlete. Constantin, the more experienced of the 2 Romanian drivers. They'll give a little bit away to their teammates at the start. Andrea Grecu, Erica Allais started 5:66, 5:79 for their teammates.
16th best start out of 18 sleds. So now, perfect lines. Might give her a chance to get to 12 or 13. But 6,200's down right now. She's 18th. And there will be 2 sleds that will not be coming back.
Well, the good news for Maria and for the Belgians, Alfie Willemsen and Anne van Nieuwenhuizen, who are last and second last at the moment, is that we've got rookie from Switzerland, Martina Fonteneve, coming up. And we've also got Konomi Asazu, Japan, who's got very limited experience. And Leander Decker and Nel Polison, the 3rd Belgian sled,
this is
well struggle to make the cut
18th
as well.
at the start and 18th at the bottom here.
Okay, slowest of the run so far for Maria Constantin of Romania.
Got beat by 1,400s by her teammate at the start and 3,700s at the bottom.
Constantin in 18th place at the moment. 4 to go. Only 2 more will make it through, or only 20 will make it through. Maybe all 4 of the remaining will.
It's not perfect, but not terrible.
Trying to identify the sled, whether that's a, I think that's a Singer. There's a bit of a look of it. Maria Constantin of Romania in 18th place. 19th of the sleds in the field, Martina Fonteneve and Diana Zolika. Zolika's first ever World Cup start.
There's Christoph Langen. He's been coaching these young girls' development. Oh, she can't get in. Uh-oh, watch out. The push bar. And she's smart to let it down when she got into the takeout of the next curve. 16th best, 17th best start, though. She couldn't compete last year. Some kind of a sinus problem.
Yep. She sort of started faultingly her World Cup career 2 seasons ago. As you say, was off the track last year.
She's an interior architect by trade. She's so happy to come and talk to us about being back on the World Cup. And watch out, a little late here. Oh, she got away with it. And she's 19th. So I think the Romanians are going to be safe here. This is the first sled that's, I don't know, 19th, 126. Now remember the track, look at Christoph Langen.
Yeah.
What are his thoughts? Former great 3-time Olympic gold medalist.
Teammate Diana Zolika, Diana Zolika, as you can hear, lists her hobby as mainly laughing.
Oh, look at her foot.
Yeah.
She got in, she got caught up. This is, don't panic. Look at her hand, look at her right hand. She still doesn't know what to do with herself.
And it's been
the right foot is caught.
rusty, isn't it?
Yeah, right foot's caught. And then, ooh, did it hit any place? No.
Hard to tell from that shot.
Then this is what, when that deficient start, you can't be doing that.
Well, 19th for Martina. 20th of our sleds is Austria's Katrin Beil with Valerie Kleiser behind her.
With a bad foot and all, now she looks like she's running, not full speed.
The two blondes should make it into this field. 5:71 from them.
Her father's a former brakeman for the Austrian team. I found that out the other night from our good friend Walter Delacartes. And she's, got a foot injury right before the season started. Couldn't make it out on tour. And first event we saw her in St. Moritz, she was sitting in the sled. Last couple of weeks out, she jogged a little bit more.
Well, the advantage here is she knows the track. The disadvantage is everyone needs a start, and they know it. Rattles out of 9. 18th place at the moment off the 16th best start.
19th now.
Oh, she should have Martina Fontanier of Switzerland behind her. She does.
Barely. 300s.
So, well, that might be just enough to guarantee her a second heat.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
2 sleds to come, and there are no more spots left in the race. So somebody, possibly 2 somebodies, will get bumped, and if the 2 remaining sleds go quicker, Katrin Beil will be out.
Well, the exit of 9, the pivotal part of the track, Kreisel, into 8. I keep saying that 9, but it's that come into 8 like that. Tough to get through there clean.
20 sleds down. Alana Myers-Taylor leads a race that she won 2 seasons ago from Kaylee Humphries. And we have 2 remaining sleds. This is Konomiya Suza of Japan with Natsumi Kawasaki behind her. And the girls...
See the smiles on these girls?
Making their first World Cup start here. I don't think they've even raced more than once in European Cup either. So second time at the track.
Doesn't get the start that her teammate does, and her teammate's safely in the field at 15th place. Oshigira, 18th best start, 14th best velocity though. And now,
although their 3rd driver went home, I think they've kept all the brake women here. So Natsumi Kawasaki producing good speed at the start, good velocity. She needs to find her way down here cleanly. Like half a dozen of the drivers in the field, very inexperienced on the track. That makes perfection.
Watch out.
Fine art.
Oh boy, you see him go flat like that in 9, it's easy to get nervous.
Good
Tap before 10. The labyrinth, now she's gonna be late, steer hard. Safe.
Yeah.
Speed.
And down, but
21st.
Not in the race. Yep.
So there's our first casualty.
It was always going to be a difficult ask for a Suzu to make it into the race in the first heat, her 2nd time ever here. Asazu, I beg her pardon.
2100s off that 20th position. Pretty good lines. Of course, her teammates driving that Swiss sled. There's some airborne into the 3rd labyrinth.
Well, they're still loving
their signature. They just smile.
Yeah. Final sled, and again, might be tough to get into the field for Lenda Decker and then Nell Paulison.
Start time. Good technique for the brakeman. In, down, quick. She's 22nd best start. The worst start of the 22. And now, I mean, it's with the track, 21 sleds have already come down. The track's not clean. It's a little ragged, and we saw in the men's race this morning, it was very difficult for the sleds coming late. And with that start time, it's going to be tough for her to get into that top 20.
Still in 22nd place as she gets to the Kreisel. This should mean that Martina Fonteneve of Switzerland stays in.
Shows you how much of an emphasis on the start.
Yeah.
Whoa, late there.
Yep. And the brake woman would have felt that as well, Nell Paulison. She'll be glad to get onto the brakes and into the finish area, the most dangerous part of the track. You see so many sleds rocking and rolling through there. So, Linda Decker, 22nd, does not make the second heat.
Well, this is pictures down below. And have to steer hard when you're late. And look at the back end here. You're doing that crossover, and then the curve dictates to you how you come on and off the curve. That's not what you want.
Flying from wall to wall. They make it down safely, though. No crash this weekend for Linda Decker and Nell Paulison, but 22nd spot means they don't get a second heat. Our leader after the first of the two runs is now heading for her fourth straight win potentially in this season. Alana Myers-Taylor and Lolo Jones lead.
Best start.
Yep.
You know, you have the best start at the top of the track, and her best start was by 600ths, which is a lot of time. It's 1800ths at the bottom, and that's exactly what she's ahead.
Alana's had 3 medals on this track in the last 3 seasons. 3 years ago, silver with Asia Evans. 2 years ago, a win with Lauren Williams. And last year, a bronze in the Worlds with Lauren Gibbs. Lana Myers-Taylor leads by 1800ths from Kaylee Humphries. The battle would seem to be on for silver and bronze. Can Stephanie Schneider or Mariama Yamanka get into the medals for Germany? That seems to be a big ask, but despite the fact it's only 1,200 meters long, this track is very difficult indeed to get one perfect run, never mind two. 2 sleds that don't make it are from Japan and Belgium. So Switzerland's Martina Fonteneve will go first in our second heat as we go 20 down to 1 to decide the medals in the penultimate World Cup of the season and our last World Cup race in Europe. Join John Morgan and me, Martin Haven, when we come back. Sleds will be on ice in just 30 minutes time as we get the medals decided here in Innsbruck in Austria. Till then, from us here trackside, it's goodbye for now.